you ask any European person about the auto industry in Europe, they'll be dumbfounded. It's not in a good state at all, even if you consider Volkswagen and the fact that it's an umbrella brand and that they're so, kind of successful in one way and miserably, failing in another way with their reliability and longevity. So for years, it's been falling to pieces all around Europe. It's just not been doing very well, especially the UK. Things are looking pretty dire, I think. And this video is about highlighting the madness of it all. Really, the madness, just looking through some of the stuff that we know and talking a little bit about Stellantis. So you could argue that some things make sense, but largely, I think what's going on in Europe and the fact that things are just looking the way that they are, is political and a bit silly. I think that's kind of at the heart of it all. Some things are going well, but when you consider that we're now in this era where everything's technological and the cars are now computers on wheels, the technology is an increasingly important part of the car, and that's where Europeans have sort of fell behind. China, I would argue, is quite a bit ahead, and also the CEO of Stellantis, he is also in agreement. He thinks that China is ahead. Carlos Tavares, he's the CEO of Stellantis. He recently warned that Europe is significantly in danger of falling behind China, even more than it is now, which is quite a bit, clearly. Stellantis is the company that owns brands like Peugeot, Vauxhall, Fiat, Jeep, and there's a list of them. Also Leap Motors with the TO1, brilliant car. That's going to be made in Poland with the parts that are imported from China. That's also a Leap Motors car. Will they or will they not get taxed 10%? Because basically the car is all made from Chinese stuff, but taken to Poland. And so is there going to be a tax on that? That is a big talk at the minute. And I made a video on this. I'll put that in the bottom in the description, and I'll put it on the end of the screen for you. So basically, one key issue for Stellantis is that rule of origin requirement, which I've talked about. Most of the parts, notably the battery, must be sourced within the European Union to then create the product and sell it to the European Union. That's how it kind of goes. So with battery production, mostly in Asia, frankly, everyone knows it's China and Korea. It's mostly focused in Asia. Meeting those requirements is a big challenge, a really, really big challenge. So can they afford to absorb a 10% tax on their cars? Probably not. So in essence, what the European Union want is, if you want to make a car and sell it in the European Union, do everything, all of your business in the European Union. Just be there, buy all the stuff from the European Union, all the paints, all the metals, everything, build it, sell it to the European Union. That's how they want it. If you're not going to do that, they're not so happy about it. So that's a concern, especially the battery, especially in this landscape at the minute. All the talk about batteries, a bit of an issue. Stellantis urged the UK government, can you talk to the European Union to figure this out, because we can't absorb a 10% tax on our cars, especially not, like, say, for example, if they were to make something like the TO1. It's a very small, cheap car, small margins on it, that I'm aware of. I don't know for sure about the margins. But if they were to sell it in the UK, Stellantis will move. Will they be able to afford a 10% tax? Not cost, a tax, sorry. Probably not. Not really. I think there's a lot of thin margins in cars at the minute, I think. Especially when it's a cheap little car, like a Stellantis TO1, for example. It quickly becomes too expensive when it's, there's a psychological dynamic at play here. So if a Tesla is 35,000 versus 39,000, people will still buy it. It's roughly the same sort of number. If a Stellantis TO1 is 13,000 euro versus, say, 16,000, quite quickly does it become a lot more expensive. The willingness to pay for a cheap car quickly falls out of that window. It's a smaller margin, if that makes sense. So I think that's how it psychologically works when you look at it from a marketing point of view. So basically, this is an issue for Stellantis a lot, because a lot of their cars run cheaper end, more affordable for ordinary working people. So that's a thing, basically. In essence, if you want to avoid paying these taxes, this 10% tax, do everything in the European Union. Be one of us. Be in the European Union, and buy all your stuff from the European Union. Buy your machines, buy your metal, buy your batteries. Build it here, sell it here. That's kind of the mentality. That's the attitude there. And I don't think it's terrible. Honestly, I don't think it's too bad. Stellantis, they've already invested a lot in, say, Ellesmere Port in the UK, in their English plants on the west coast. So that's kind of a big cost to them if they were to move. And the CEO did suggest that they would move if they can't sort it out. So they urged the UK, or the CEO urged the UK to try and renegotiate that, or try and sort it out, at least for the next year or 2 or 3, to see if they can just come to an agreement where they don't do that rule of origin and enforce it so heavily on cars built in the UK, sold in the European Union. In fairness, I personally don't really understand, other than the fact that the UK is kind of a hub for, I don't know, engineers and machinists and factory and stuff like that. There are other places, aren't there? Like France, Lithuania, Hungary, Poland, for example. Really good countries where you could do the exact same thing, maybe cheaper, and not have to deal with this bureaucracy stuff, political silliness. So if the rules are not adjusted, Stellantis could shift their plant to the European Union. I suspect that they will end up doing this in the next 5 years. It seems, a lot of countries are not looking to build a plant in the UK at this point. It's all in Europe, for example. BYD in Hungary, they've already committed to that. That's happening in the next couple of years. And so you can buy locally built BYD cars in a couple of years' time. Don't forget the taxes from the European Union on Chinese EVs can only stand for 5 years before they have to further back up any more taxes after that. So all they've done is fend the taxes away. In that 5 years, the Chinese are basically just moving in. That's how this is working. A really interesting thing. If you've got any thoughts, or you think I simplified that too much, that's okay. Just put it in the comments, because I know there are a lot of people interested in this stuff, and they also read the comments way before I probably get to them. Yeah, basically, so if the rules are not adjusted, it's not looking very good for the UK or Stellantis, really. The UK's transition to electric vehicle manufacturing is at a really important time at the minute. Some might say a critical juncture, I think. Other than that, I have got no gripe with Stellantis at all. I think they're a really good company, a really good brand. And my only issue really is that they don't always sell their cars with full-on battery management. Thermal management on there, basically. Excuse the building over there. I'm not in the office at the minute, so I'm actually literally filming this on the road, on a front deck at a family member's house. So basically, yeah, awesome brand. I just think 90% of you agree when I run a poll that basically all cars that get sold with a battery should also have the relevant or the pertinent cooling and thermal management systems with that. If it's too cold, can we warm it up? If it's too hot, can we lower it? However they want to do it. If they want to use special valves inside, like Tesla, really clever, ingenious valve systems, with like 8 valves inside or whatever, that's all right, so long as they do it and they don't just stick a battery with a positive and negative cable coming out of it, like it seems like they have been doing in some cars. So yeah, my name is Ben Alexander. I make these EV news videos every day, so thank you very much for being here, for tuning in. That's really nice. I appreciate your time. Even if you want to criticise, it's all right. Just say anything in the comments. That's fine. And yeah, I'll be on the comments for a few hours after this, and I'll just click around and I'll respond to anyone who's going to say. Really sorry for some people that have had their comments moderated recently. YouTube, strangely, even people that have been commenting for months or a couple of years, they've been having their comments held, and then I have to go and approve it, and I don't always do that very often, and sometimes I'm 2 or 3 weeks late, and there's a comment by, say, Catherine Grimes. You commented something the other day, and it was held for no reason on YouTube. No weird words in it, no swear words, nothing. It just held. So sorry about that. I don't know why. But of course, if you are going to be really, really mad insultful and you're just awful to anyone or everything, if you're going to just rant loads of awful stuff, every now and then I do delete a comment, but basically I don't really do that. I just let them on there. And if any swear words anyway, YouTube almost always deletes them immediately, and sometimes allows them to be on there and then deletes them. It is what it is. It's YouTube, modern day 2024 YouTube. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I appreciate your time.